Hey everyone, Dave here with Affordable Door and Gate. So Eric reached out to me. Eric, I'm sorry if this gets to you in delay. If you guys do have any questions, ideas, or something you want me to make a video about, please, by all means, go ahead and ask me. Normally the email's the best, and I always put the email below so you don't have to contact the business, you don't have to deal with the secretaries. I normally see them, sometimes I don't reply. You gotta remember, I got these things called wife, multiple business, kids, sport events, rental properties. I got a lot going on my plate. So, but I always still love coming and helping you guys out. So Eric was saying something about the fact that it sounds like the door, the cable was coming off, or the door, he got it up, and then when he brung it down, it got stuck. So I wanted to go over a couple things that I've experienced with garage doors. This can kind of pertain to commercial and residential. I just simply was here at this property and I decided to videotape this one. So let's take a look at it and I'll give you some tips and tricks. So a lot of people don't put a lot of credit into these springs. They don't realize that those are living, breathing objects, and those things like to be very content and happy. So what I like to do sometimes is I actually sometimes will check to make sure these things aren't bound up. I take myself a winding bar, and I can tell a lot by sound that it's actually moving. But if it just sounds like a thud, like it's super tough, like it doesn't have no spring to it, like right now it's moving, you can't really see it. See how it's moving? It's moving. That thing's fine. This is how you want to see it. You want to see it in uniform like this. If it looks all wonky, something's going on. Something's bound up here, and you got to loosen this thing up, which, by the way, you need to consult with a professional because this will kill you, and these can hurt you very badly. So always deal with a professional. This is just entertainment. This is not legal advice. So always make sure, and a lot of people don't oil the springs. Oil your springs. That helps. Now, another thing I'll show you that I've had that's tricked me before is back in the day, these bearing plates never used to have a bolt back there. Ah, what kind of cheesehead didn't put it in there? Huh. But anyways, right here. And what that does is it keeps that plate from rotating. I've had these actually grind on here. I've had the bearings fall out before. So you got to really watch that there's clearance in here for everything to move. So with that being said, I've also had, always watch where your cables are going on the sides. So keep an eye on the cables. Normally with garage doors, I always look at garage doors that they're not, I think why like contractors, a lot of contractors don't do them is for one, they just sub us guys out, right? But it's a totally different realm, right? It's a mechanical object. It's like a builder dealing with wood, so all of a sudden he looks at a car and he goes, I don't know what I'm doing, right? That's what these are. These are mechanical objects that move. They're huge appliances. And so a lot of things for me always is the feel and the sound it's making. I'm always telling myself, is the door happy? Is the door happy? Is the door happy? Everything's got to be spaced accordingly. Everything's got to breathe. But a lot of times you can find the problems if you just slow down, you start looking. Look for where it's binding. The door will talk to you. If the door starts going crooked when you're bringing it down, if you're pulling on it, feel for it. Just feel for it. Just feel and say, oh, wow, it's this side that's bouncing, right? That's hitting first or thudding. And start looking. I start out with basics. Start out looking for track bolts that are possibly intruding. Look at the rollers. A lot of times, like right here, the rollers, I like to, can you hear that? There's a little bit of give in there. Just a little bit, a little bit of thud in there, right? So this thing isn't super tight. Just start feeling the door. A lot of guys forget that. It's very just basic. Just feel the door out and feel what's tight and bound. That's what you're looking for. And the biggest thing is obviously don't ever stick your fingers in the track or something while somebody's working on it, because there goes your finger. So just be smart. But I've had it before where I've had the cables loop up or the springs that fooled me. Those springs can be very tricky, where I've had somebody, it's one thing if you know the door and you just install the door, but when you come up to a job, that you don't know who installed it. You don't know who last worked on it. You don't know if it was the maintenance guy here. You don't know if it was actually another technician from another competitor company. But that's always the trickiest, right? Because you don't know what kind of spring tension, you don't know how they wound it. You don't know if some guys, like I've done it before, you know, you have to loop the cables on and basically drop the door from up above. You know, I've done all kinds of crazy stuff. But then the spring is compressed funny, or somebody loosened up the drums but never re-stretched the spring. There's a lot of things that go into it. So sometimes you just basically have to start from zero. I've done that. Get a forklift, get somebody to help you. I've taken come-alongs. I think I got a video. Remember, I took 2 come-alongs. I worked the door down with the grapples. You just get the door down, start from zero. You know what I mean? Start going through, walking through, feeling all the hinges. Check all the hinges out. I've seen a lot of that happen too, where guys will they'll put the wrong hinges on. You would be very surprised how many not educated people think that their garage doors are out there, and they try to work on stuff and they don't know what they're doing. So there's a lot that goes into garage doors because they're living, breathing animals. And I would take the same advice from the guy next door to me that runs a car lot, right? I had to ask him one day, I said, did you, I don't know if I should use his name. We'll call him Mr. J. But Mr. J, I told him, I said, do you think 2 cars are built the same? And he said, absolutely not. He said, you can have 2 cars coming off the showroom or off the assembly line. And he says, they're not built the same. And I would have to agree. I've done hundreds of garage doors side by side, and I can guarantee one, I'll go, man, that thing works. It moves smooth as glass. And then I'll do the next one the same way, and I'm like, it just isn't the same. It works, it's fine, but it doesn't roll the same. It doesn't feel the same. And I've adjusted them, and then you just, normally if you got an opener, you're just like, well, it's intolerance. You just got to live with it. But it's like, I couldn't even explain it. It's almost like one was built on a Wednesday and maybe another one was built on a Friday type of thing, you know? It's just weird. And we don't know behind the scenes. If you ever want to get educated on stuff, you should always go and see, go check out the factories, how these things are built. I'm sure some of my seasoned vets out there, you guys have gone to the factory or to the warehouses where they store this stuff. And man, I tell you what, it'll open up your mind. If you go to these things, I mean, you will just be like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Now I see why they come in damaged. Now I see why the boxes aren't right. I don't know what it is across the door industry. A lot of times these door industries have temp workers. A lot of times they don't have seasoned people. And then now with the season that happened for the last 2 years, things have even gotten way worse. It's like I think of that glass bowl or glass, the glass dome jars, whatever, the little snowflakes in them, right? And somebody just shaking it. Ah! That's what it's like, right? And then things are just everywhere, right? There's glitter everywhere. You're like, oh, and it's like try to pick them out of the sky, right? It ain't gonna happen. That's the world we live in now. So it's even gotten worse. Before it was at least somewhat people dropped off and this and that. But anyways, I digress. So always just look at the basics. Sometimes you just got to start from zero, get the door down, reset the springs, and go from there. But just don't ever forget about that thing and look for bindage in these bearings. You know what I mean? Bearings, the drums, always look for bindage in those areas. Those things have tricked me a lot of times. I've had the cable sometimes get pinched, so you got to watch all those kinds of things. So anyways, Eric, I hope that helps you out. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.